So reach router, there's two major routers for React, and actually now there's probably three. There's another one called Navi that just came out that I don't really know too much about. I just know that it's up and coming and people like it. So but historically there's been React router and reach router, which are authored by similar people. Ryan Florence wrote reach router, and he also helps with React router as well. So we're going to use reach router today. I'm a big fan of reach router because it's very accessibility focused, right? So if you have like the page change, it'll focus on the right page. And managing focus is a really difficult thing. And if you don't know it's a difficult thing, that means you need to work harder on accessibility probably, because it is difficult and it's also worthwhile. It's something you should be doing. So React router, it's not that it's bad at accessibility, it's not, but it just makes you handle a lot of accessibility things. Reach router handles much of that for you, and they're smart about it, so it's a good project to look at. And that being said, they work relatively similar. They're both great projects. If you're very interested in learning React router, version 3 of this course uses React router. It's still totally valid. They're still in the same major version, so yeah, go ahead and check out version 3 if you want to learn about React router. So now what we want to do is we want to add a second page, a details page, right? So we're going to have a single page application. Now, just a second to talk about single page applications. Not every app needs to be a single page application. It's okay to have multiple different pages that load different things, right? So I'm just going to show you how to do this. So this is another tool in your toolbox, but don't feel like you always have to have a single page application, right? I think a good example of that is the Front-End Masters website, right? It's not a single page application, and they did that really well. So, but something like Netflix is a single page application, and that makes sense, right? It's a very app-like feel. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to go back to your code editor here. I want you to create a new file and call this details.js. Okay. Inside of details.js, we're going to say import React from React. Probably sick of writing that now. And you're going to say const details equals arrows function. And for now, we're just going to return something dumb. Just something like that. And then we'll say export default details. Well, obviously, we're going to fix this later. This is not what this is going to end up looking like, but yeah. Now, at this point, we need to go install reach router. I'm just going to let Parcel do it for me because I have Parcel running here in the command line. So at the top here in app.js, I'm going to say import router, like that, with curly braces around it, from @reach/router, like that. And then again, remember Parcel, if I do this, and you can watch it down here, will actually install that for me. But if not, then you have to go do npm install reach router. Okay, looks like it's rebuilding. So now what I want to do, instead of just always rendering search params, which is what we're doing right now, right? I want to switch between rendering either the search page or the details page, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put router, and then, oops, I'm going to put search params inside of the router. And then underneath that, I'm going to put details. Now, notice I haven't imported details as well, but with Visual Studio Code, it says, oh, hey, you're trying to use a details component, and you have a file called details. Pretty sure you're trying to use the same thing here. So I'll just click this, and you'll notice up here that it imported details up here for me, which is convenient, right? But again, all you have to do is line 5 there, import details from details, like that. And then you have to give them paths. So I'm going to say path equals /details /:ID, like that. And I have to give search params a path as well, and I'm going to give that the path of /. So this is another way that React Router differs from Reach Router. React Router will render everything that matches, whereas Reach Router is only going to render the thing that matches the most, which is, I realize, a very subjective thing to say, because you can have two things that technically match the same thing. Like this. If I said, you don't have to follow me here, I'm just going to give you an example, some other route, and I said path equals /details/1. Let's talk about ID here for just a second. This is a variable, right? This is a very common way of doing variables with paths, right? So if I put in, just ignore 14 for a second. If I put in this and I put in /details/15 into my URL, it's going to pass that ID into that component, right? So it'll match this, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Now, if I have these two routes here, which of these routes is more specific? Obviously, some other route. Like, as a human, we look at that, and that's very intuitive to us, right? But they've actually put like a scoring algorithm behind this that it will choose the most specific route for you, and it's good, right? So if I put in /details/1, React Router would render both of these, right? And Reach Router will just render some other route, which I think is the intuitive behavior that we would expect, right? But that's how that works. Make sense? Okay, cool.
So does the order of declaration here matter?
It does not.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. It does not. So with React Router, they use a thing called switch. If you want to do just one particular route, and that one, it will do the first one that it matches, right? So in that one, it does matter. But this one, it does a scoring system, and then it picks the highest score at the end. I should probably be a little bit less bullish on that. It might matter at some point. It might add like 1 point in their scoring algorithm, but in theory, I don't think it should matter. That was one of their claims to fame, was the scoring system in it. Okay, cool. So now we have a router. Something else that's worth mentioning about Reach Router is you can have multiple routers on the page. So you can probably imagine like I have like a main page, and I'll use a router for that. But I could also have like a contextual side nav, right? That like depending on which page I'm in, the side nav changes as well. And you can also have a router over there that has different rules and different matching patterns, and those can work independently of each other as well. So it's quite flexible. It's a really powerful piece of technology. And we are just going to scratch the surface. I don't think we're going to do very much more than this, right? We're going to use this and links, and that's about it from Reach Router. So just so you know, this is not a course on Reach Router. I'm just choosing one to show you. Okay, so now that I have that, let's go take a look at our page again. So I have this. Notice that on the slash, the home page, it's going to the params page. But if I go to /details/1, look at it, says hi lol, right? So this is working the way that we expect. We can go backwards and forwards.